Gearbest have kindly sent me a pair of FPV goggles to review. These are the LS800Ds. As you can see, come in a good old carry case here. Quite smart, I think it looks. And everything fits in here. This is basically how it comes to you. The only thing you can't do is actually have the antennas on and transport it in the bag, which really isn't a problem. You can just spin them off. Comes with two antennas. You've got the patch antenna, or the paddle antenna sometimes it's called, and you've got a cloverleaf one as well. Now these goggles are very similar to the Eachine EV800Ds. I'm pretty sure they're pretty much identical. I don't have a pair of those, but I'm going to compare up all the specs, and anything that I see this has or this is lacking, I'll point out. First off, at the time I'm doing the review, these are about 2/3 the price of the Eachine one, so there's got to be something missing off it, so we'll go through and see what I can find anyway. You've got a cable here so you can put your video in if you want, and you can use this one here. This is also the out for the headphones as well. You get a USB charger, because this one actually has a single cell 2000 milliamp hour battery within it, and you charge it up with the USB here. There's no backup, so that's the first thing I've noticed. You can't plug in a 2-cell or a 3-cell, I think you can on the Eachine one if you run out. The screen's supposed to run for about 2 hours, so for me that's not going to be an issue, because I would never be flying out that long. And they take about 4.5 hours to charge, so it says, but I'll do all that in the summary. We can check whether or not that's right or not. So they look pretty cool. They're not too heavy to feel. You've obviously got no battery at the back, which you normally have, and because your battery and everything's built in here, so be interested in how comfortable they are. So these come apart the same as the Eachine one, so just literally slide the two units apart. Get it to a certain point. It's about 2/3 of the way through, and then they just pop apart, as you can see there. You've got your Fresnel screen in there. Just be really careful you do not touch that, because they're a devil to clean, if you can ever clean them again. And then the nice thing about this, I really like this, is you've then got the screen is separate, all your battery and everything's all in here. Obviously there's no electronics in the other bit, and you've got a little tripod thread there, so you can just pop it up on a tripod, and then you've got a nice shielded screen that you can use for your FPV. The goggles have diversity, obviously, because of that's why they've got the two antennas on, and they're both RP-SMA, and there's basically only two different connectors that you have. RP-SMA is this one, and with the threaded bit you have basically, I would call it a female in there, and then the ordinary SMA ones, this would actually have the pin, which is actually in there on this one, but the ordinary SMA would have the pin there. Both the antennas are 14 dBi, and the idea of the patch antenna is that, or the paddle antenna, depends what you want to call it, is you point it in the direction of where you're going to be flying out if you're flying long range, and it basically uses this front face is where it's receiving the signal to. The cloverleaf is an omnidirectional one, so it has a complete sort of 360 around. Patch antenna really isn't a lot of use in my garden, because I tend to fly the other side of the house straight round, and I go off in 360s everywhere. It's more for if you're down a race field or something or other, and you're going to be extending way beyond what a cloverleaf will give you. But it's nice having them both, and they're there, aren't they, as backup. If one fails, you've got the other one. The receivers are actually RX5808s. And to be honest, I don't know anything about those. The technical side and that sort of bit, I'm perfectly honest here on the channel, really doesn't do anything for me. I'm not looking into it. What I want to know is, do they fit me? Are they comfortable? And will they work in my garden? That's all I need from a pair of goggles. The menu button is also the on-off button on this particular goggles. So hold that down for a couple of seconds. You get your welcome screen, and then it goes on to whatever your last use was, and I was actually using it on AV in. If you want to go on so that you're going to use it with your goggles on the 5.8 gigs, then you just need to press the function button. On the top left hand side, it gives you what frequency you're on, and it gives you your channel and your band as well, and also the signal strength.
you've got on the right hand side, you've got the battery condition as well. If you want to record, you simply press the record button here, hold it down for a couple of seconds, and then it will start recording. And you can also take stills with it as well. You get a little icon up showing that it's a still image taken. You can have the date stamp on it if you want, showing, and I'll show you that in the menus and everything in a second. If you want to change the band and the channel by yourself, you certainly can. So just press this, a quick press changes the actual channel, and then if you want to change band, you just hold it down and it will, a couple of seconds, and then let go and it will jump to the next one, and you flick through like that. The auto search I found really good on this. I'll let it auto search and hopefully it'll find that channel again. Now, I've given it loads of praise, it probably won't, but it's usually spot on, and I found it really good on the search. You've got a micro SD card slot there, and if you put a card in that it doesn't recognise, it can't read basically, it will come up with a warning as soon as you put it in, telling you to format the card so it will work on the screen. So obviously if you format it, it will remove all the information that's on the card. Before we run through the menus, I'll stop the recording, and then I'm actually going to go into AV because it gives us a cleaner screen for you to watch the menus. So I'm going to pop the menu on, and this affects it whether it's on AV or 5.8. It's all the same. It's one setting for all. And then these are your navigation keys, so you go up and down with these ones. So you can do split screen. You can play back your actual images that are recorded on your micro SD card. Loop recording you've got on here. If you want to access what the menu what you've selected, you simply press your right hand button, and then that gives you how many minutes of recording you're going to do. I don't really want it on loop recording, so I'm just going to select that one. If you want to check, just go back into it. There we go. Loop recording literally records 3 minutes, and then it will overwrite that with another 3 minutes, and so on. Not something I would use on goggles, I must admit. Your volume, your date stamp, so it means you can have the stamp on or off, which is quite nice, so you know actually when you are doing the flight. You've got video parameters. Basically, you've just got how the sharpness of it, I would say, is all it does. So I would leave it either on normal or auto. And then you've got your manual corrections there as well. And then back and back, which is basically the menu button. LCD brightness, your date and time, where you can set up the date and time yourself. And then auto power off. I'd probably just stick it on 3 minutes just in case I ever leave it on, but to be honest, I've not really had a problem with it. Your language you can change. This is where you would format the card, and then you can choose the internal memory or the actual micro SD card, and then it asks you again. So it's a real sort of fail-safe system that you really have to check that you really do want to do that. If you mucked about with the menus and everything, you're not too sure whether or not it's going to work or there's something wrong, the default menu setting is brilliant. They're basically the factory settings, and then you'd select that, and then that would wipe it back to its original. To exit out, just keep pressing the menu button till you come back, and then if we press that, we're back on the FPV. And finally, to turn it off, just simply hold down the menu on off button and it will go off. So to use these glasses, I need to put in my sort of close-up glasses, some adapters. I buy loads of these. They're in the pound shop in the UK. I don't know, I guess they'd be called a dollar shop in the US. They're just reading glasses, so they just give you extra magnification. I need them for all goggles, so it's no contradiction on these goggles at all. My eyes just need them. So what I'm doing is I've taken obviously the screen area off, and I just need to get in here because these, no way will these squeeze into there. Though I have popped them in on other ones, but that looks a really nice gap down inside there. I'm hoping the camera can pick that up. So I can actually fit in there, no trouble at all. So I'm going to pop the 4 screws out, and then let's get in there. I can't actually prise it apart. I can prise the front bit apart, but I can't prise the back bit because this is stuck all the way around. That's no real problem. I'm just going to ease it off on the glue there. If need be, I'll just re-glue it. It's not the end of the world by any means. I'll just get round into there. I could take the whole thing off, to be honest, but I'm going to be lazy. The family are saying, that's new.
Okay, so there we go. That should just come out. Like I say, I'm avoiding that Fresnel screen like like it's got plutonium on it or something or other. Okay, yay, we're in there. That's excellent. So we've got that's the area I want to get to. So I need to fit these glasses into here. So they're going to fit in now, no problem at all. And like I say, I've got several pairs of these, so I might do it with other ones. These are metal. I've got some plastic rimmed ones as well, so I'll probably do it with those. And I'm going to wedge them in there somehow or other. So let me have a fiddle and I'll be right back to you. Give us a second. See, told you it wouldn't take long. And I've done this major adaptation with a large pair of scissors and a pair of the pound goggles, glasses, sorry, and just cut the arms off so I can just fit that into there. I'll just show you how I'm sort of doing this, and then they're going to wedge in there really nicely. Actually, they will not give any. There we go, perfect. And that looks like you bang your nose on it. Honestly, you don't. I've done these on all my goggles, and I've been through quite a few pairs of goggles now. This, your nose will miss that by a mile, to be perfectly honest, and that just sits just nicely on your eye. So wherever I look in the screen, it's lovely and crisp and sharp, and I'll be able to see every single pixel. So happy bunnies. Let me get this back together. But just one thing I've just thought of. I didn't have an issue with it. I've checked this out. I didn't notice much light leak, but I know Andy RC did the other goggles, the Ishin ones, and he said they got a light leak there. I've really looked. I can see just a tiny bit, but these are actually going to block the light as well. So there's sort of double whammy there. I might run just a little bit of tape just down the bottom there. If you've got them apart, you might as well do it if there is a light leak, but I haven't noticed it at all. There we go, all back together, and yeah, absolutely fine. You're going to wreck the goggles to actually get those out now, so they're really nice and solid. And I like doing it this way because I can, if I want to pass them on to someone else, you can always just take them back out, or if somebody else wants to use them, it's a 2-second fix to actually do it. One place I do get light leak, and I'd be surprised if everybody else doesn't get light leak there as well, is here, because your cheeks sit here, your forehead's on here, and then your nose is never going to be that far out. They've just made it so you will never catch your nose into this bit, which is fair enough, obviously. But I reckon my nose sits quite a way back from there, so there's a big gap around there letting the light in. Now I save any sort of packaging that comes with quads or anything else. I'm quite I just grab it as it comes in the house. It'll only wind up in the bin anyway, and something like that foam there will be absolutely perfect. I can just cut that round and make it fit into there, hot glue it in position, and then it should be nice and comfy, and more importantly, it'll cut out the light leak, which will mean that it's sort of completely dark in there, so it'll be really nice and immersive when I'm flying.
Okay, so let's see how we get on with this. They are extremely wide. Okay, and I warn you, I haven't flown FPV or acro for quite a while. I'll be playing around with the little ones with the auto everything on them, so this will be interesting. Actually really nice. Yeah, very nice. They're extremely wide. You really do feel like you're looking, getting a whole world view with them. That's cool, yeah. And the other side of the house, you usually get drop off with anything. Got a little bit of break up there, but it wasn't too bad. I've had it worse, that's for sure. Yeah, very nice. Yeah, they're cool. Yeah, I'm sort of getting drop out where I always get drop out with goggles in the garden, so there's nothing unusual about them. Very nice. Whoops. No, they're really good. And for 50 quid, gee whiz, I mean, just incredible, aren't they?
Okay, so what did I think of them? Well, I really like them. I found them comfortable to wear. They worked really well. You do feel really that they're ever so wide, but I think it's just because it's just such a nice big wide screen, and it's nice and clear as well. So I thought that was good. I love this idea of just popping them apart, and then you've got the little screen that you can show your friends or whatever, or you can just be having a look. So a different sort of way of doing FPV. And when you slide them back together, you don't get any light leak or anything. So, and that's obviously vital, because anything that's coming apart and going together like that is always going to be suspect to those sort of problems. And I can do that off camera, no trouble at all. The actual finish on it, I don't think I mentioned that earlier, it's that sort of rubberized plastic, that's coating that they put on it, so it's really got quite a nice sort of tactile feel to it. I did try with and without the foam on there. Doesn't honestly make a lot of difference. The foam makes them much more comfortable to wear, because your nose is just sort of sat in this nice little bucket sort of curve of foam, which is rather good and rather nice. But the actual light coming up from the bottom, perhaps this is why they haven't bothered about this, doesn't actually affect you looking, because you're really concentrating on the screen, so didn't really have any problem with that at all. And I know I banged on about this at the beginning, but this is just purely for me. These I have an astigmatism, and so somehow or other, if I use close-up glasses on a screen this close up, I get really sort of 20/20 vision. I have let a mate have a look at these who's got really good eyesight, doesn't need glasses, and I took these out and he had a look and he thought the screen was lovely and clear. So for normal eyes it's great, but if you do have any problems with your eyes or using these goggles, these things are really good. I stick them on every pair I've got, so I find them really good. In the menus it said about you could format the onboard storage. Now there isn't any internal storage if you want to record, so don't rely on it. You must have a micro SD card in there, so that's good. And one of the things I noticed when I was looking through the specs, I said I would compare it up to the other ones, is the Eachine one, sorry, is that it has a 6-leaf clover, and I just popped this apart, and this is actually a 4-leaf clover in here, so I don't know if that would make any difference to it, but they worked fine in my garden. That's a pretty hardy test for any pair of goggles, to be perfectly honest. The other thing is you've got to, it only shows in wide, so it's either 16:9 or 16:10 format. And the Eachine ones you can swap to 4:3 format as well. So if that's a deal breaker for you and you want to spend the next, I think it's about £20 or £30 difference, then obviously definitely go for the other ones. But apart from that, I found these absolutely fine. I had no trouble with them at all, and it is a nice wide immersive sort of view that you get when you're in there using them. They're really super. Now the other thing the Eachine has is you've got a backup, because the battery's built in here on the Eachine. You can plug in one of your batteries that you're carrying around for flying with. Now to me that's a good idea, but then I've got one less battery that I can fly with. I've actually got round this much better way, and it's something I use loads of different applications with my flying and everything. It's one of the power banks, and this one is the Me one. I'll put a link down in the description. I did a video on how all the different uses I have for this, and this is another use for it. If I just simply plug it into there, it will then start charging, and if the battery was really low and you just turn it on, it will still keep running. So it's you've got your backup there. So we're definitely all on in there. I don't know if the camera will be able to see that, but we're definitely all on, and it's still charging. So yes, you've got this thing here, this big weight, but all you need is just a longer USB cable, and then you can just have that in your pocket. So it's definitely, you can get around it, no problem at all with these. And I find these power banks absolutely essential when I'm out flying. I use them for loads of different things. So we definitely get around it. So I think for the money, they're about 50 quid, and I'll put a link down in the description to them. And also there's still running a coupons code that will get you about £9 off that. So you're only just over 40 quid. So that's pretty, yeah, they're getting even more impressive for the price, I think. So yeah, I really enjoyed them. So review over, I'm off for another flight.